Well, welcome. Happy Wednesday. I am so glad to be back with you. And I'm just going to check and make sure that we have all our tech connected. So I'm going to pop over here to LinkedIn and see if we are connected. Looks like we are connected on Facebook for sure. LinkedIn is still joining us soon. I'm going to trust that it's going to connect. There we go. Okay, very good. We are connected, and we're also streaming on YouTube this afternoon. So I am happy that you have joined us. And if you are just now joining, make sure to drop me a hello in the chat. Let me know where you're joining in from. If I am new to you and you are new to me, let's have some introductions. My name is Beverly Smith, and I am the founder of Career Success Strategies. I am also the former owner of a staffing and recruiting firm, so I know firsthand what hiring managers are looking for, and I use that knowledge to empower high-performing sales, business development, as well as mid and senior level professionals, executive level professionals, to achieve their career goals. So last time we talked was a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about the number one thing that will make or break your job search. And spoiler alert, if you didn't catch the episode, it is not your resume, which I know y'all are like going, okay, I thought you ran a resume writing company. Yes, I do. But the number one thing is your mindset. Y'all, this was a really good episode. I want you to make sure that if you did not catch it, that you go over and, okay, let me see if I can figure out how to take this one off that's running down the bottom here. Go over to my YouTube channel at Beverly Smith Resumes. I'm sorry, I'm distracted trying to get this ticker off the bottom, which I guess it's fine. It doesn't matter. Beverly Smith Resumes is my YouTube channel. You can go over there. That particular episode will be underneath the live tab. Almost all of my episodes are there, except for one that for whatever reason, it did not stream on YouTube, but all the rest of them are there. So if you just see one on the main screen, you are still in the right place. Go to the live tab and you can catch that. And I want you to make sure you watch that because it's really a good precursor to what we're going to talk about today. And so speaking of that, this week we are talking all about when taking a lesser role or a step back might just be the right move for you in your career. So the world will tell you, the world sees a step back. Taking a role that's not as important as the one you have now, they're going to tell you that's a failure. You may hear it from friends, from family, from coworkers, but here's what I want to remind you. God may be setting you up for favor, for his blessings. Y'all, a step back is not always a setback. And unfortunately, y'all, there's your mentors out there. There are some career coaches out there that may even tell you need to avoid taking a lesser role at all costs, or at the very least, you need to hold out as long as you possibly can. And to be clear, I am not saying that God can't or won't supply you with the perfect dream role or the huge promotion. But what I am saying is that he may be using this step back or this lesser role to prepare you for that promotion, to prepare you for that dream role. And, going back and talking about that last episode with mindset, I want to just kind of draw out of that, what you think about is what you bring about. So it's going to be really important that you stay positive and that you keep an open mind, because God can do things in ways that you may not even be able to comprehend or imagine. And just a For example, something that happened to me. So before we ever started our staffing firm, my husband used to work for a company that we got promoted, or he got promoted and moved around a lot to different states. And we took a move, or he took a position. We're kind of a team, so I say we a lot, but he took a position in another state, and I had moved up into a role that really could have been very career defining. Matter of fact, I would not be sitting here talking to you today had I stayed in that career. It was completely different direction. And I had a pretty good income, pretty good salary. And when we moved, there wasn't really anything like that. And I hadn't had a whole lot of experience. The move came kind of suddenly. And so we were visiting at church, and I met some people that told me about a part-time position. And so I've just shared with you that I had this nice professional career, good position. And let me tell you about this part-time role. It was working at an independently owned family fun center, kind of like a Chuck E. Cheese, but it was independently owned. And the opening they had for me was to clean the ball pit, bust the tables, make sure the kids weren't running and getting hurt, make sure the music was playing in the background, just make sure that the customers were happy. And I took the job. And it was kind of fun. And what started out part-time, they gradually increased my hours, and I just did whatever they asked me to do. But fast forward, within about 3 months, I was offered a position to be a co-manager at this facility, more than tripling my income and gaining all kinds of experience that I would have never had otherwise, that I would later use in my career. And that's just an example of, if I had not been open-minded, if I had said no, there's no way I would have had that opportunity. I wouldn't have never known about it. I would have never been connected. They were probably going to promote from within, and they obviously were looking for talent within as they promoted 2 of us into these co-manager roles. So this isn't about giving up when you take a lesser role. It's about reframing the situation and looking at it differently. But unfortunately, our culture has this obsession with career growth, which equals more, bigger, faster. Everything needs to be a progression. But not everything is linear. What happens, y'all, when life takes a turn? When you experience job loss? When there's a relocation like I had? What about if you have a sick parent or a sick child that you have to care for? Or what about just extreme burnout? Y'all, sometimes obedience looks like it's slowing down or stepping aside. One of my favorite scriptures that has been such an anchor to me throughout my career is Philippians 4:19. My God will supply all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus. He didn't say some of your needs. He said all of your needs. It's provision, not position. And God's provision, y'all, it doesn't always look like what we expect it to look like. I once heard this story about a man who town was hit by a hurricane, and he decided to stay there with his home. And unfortunately, the water started rising. The flood waters started rising, and a man in a canoe comes along and says, "Hey, jump in. I can get you out of here and get you to safety," because there's no way he could have driven away at that point. And he goes, no, no. The whole time the man had been praying to God, hey, God, save me, God, save me. And so he it's like, no, God's going to save me. No big deal. Then someone comes up in a motorboat and he tells him, no, God's going to save me. It's no big deal. Well, the floodwaters keep rising and rising. And he's finally standing on the roof of his house and a helicopter goes by. He's like, take the rope. Let me save you. And he's like, no, God's going to save me. I don't need your helicopter. Well, long story short, the waters rise. He drowns. He gets to heaven and he asks God, why did you not save me? And he's like, I sent you 3 opportunities and you turned all of them down. Y'all, God's provision just doesn't always look like what we expect. So it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. You need to be open-minded. That step back may not be a setback at all. And sometimes it just makes plain sense to take a lesser role. Here's some of the reasons. We talked about already, job loss. You've got to provide immediately for your family. And if you weren't given any type of long-term severance, or you made a mistake and you were terminated, you have an obligation to provide for your family. And sometimes that's taking the first thing that comes along. You may have you may want to pivot careers, and that means you've got to go in and start at a lower entry point and work your way back up. You may want to get into working with a specific company, and the only way in is to take a lesser role. Or, as we talked about already, it could be that you've got a sick family member you need to spend time with. It may be that you are so burnt out and you're physically ill yourself, and you just need to spend some time resting, healing, getting better, and taking a role that is less stressful or has some flexibility or that's part-time is going to give you that opportunity while still giving you some sort of income and keeping you working. Another reason might be that you're just feeling God's prompting and it doesn't make sense. I felt prompted to take that part-time position and I was like, that makes no sense. Why am I doing this? I have a college degree and I'm bussing tables and telling kids to quit running and I'm cleaning a ball pit. I had no idea, y'all, that he was preparing a management position for me. And it was such great experience. You have to reframe this. These are not failures. These are faithful decisions. If you've got to feed your family, you've got to feed your family. I used to use this example years ago when we used to get a physical newspaper. You can always go throw a paper every morning and earn money to feed your family. You can always take a job waiting tables. And those are not failures. Those are smart decisions because you're keeping a stream of income coming in. Your title does not determine who you are, and it doesn't determine your impact. Faith and obedience to God determine who you are and your impact. Now, I know some of you out there are wondering, how on earth, if I take a lesser role, how am I going to explain that to a hiring manager? And if that's you, put that in the comments. Let me know. If you're wondering, how on earth am I going to explain this? Leave me a comment because you're not alone in wondering that. And that's perfectly normal. So, and I'll be honest with you, hiring managers are going to look and say, why did she take a lower title? Why was he not able to perform at this level? They are going to wonder those questions. Here's another thing though. Most of them will be able to start making connecting dots too. It's going to be more favorable to see that you went and found something and continued to work versus, I just didn't work for 7 or 8 months. And, what was I out doing? If you can't explain what you were out doing, and there may be a valid reason that you didn't work for 7 or 8 months. So if that's you, don't freak out. That can be explained. But don't worry about it. You just redirect that. The first thing is be honest, but be strategic. This role gave me a chance to reset and refocus on what mattered most to me. I needed to reevaluate. I was not showing up my best self in this job, and I was not proud of my performance. I needed to reevaluate and figure out, is this really what I wanted to do? And what things could I do? Another thing is, I want you to focus on the value that you bring now. Not where you've been, but things like what you want to look at the company that you're applying at and see what it is you can do for them. How can you solve problems for them? What are things that you and you alone, your skill set, will enable you to do, and make those things your focus, your focal point. It's what we do, my team and I do, as we write our resumes. We focus on that value that you bring to the table, not necessarily all you're responsible for. And sometimes you're applying for roles that are higher than what you've done before, but you've been doing that work, and we can show how that all translates. You also want to show how this move prepared you for your next assignment. Maybe it's possible in caregiving for that parent that you were able to take some online courses and improve your skills, and found yourself doing things that you hadn't done before, or maybe you've taken a part-time job during that as well, and you realize you now have a new skill set and you're more prepared to take on a greater role because of that. Those are the things you want to focus on. Maybe in taking care of that sick parent or that sick child, you learned how to manage your time better. You learned how to be more efficient, and things like that. They're going to help you in that next position. I want to, first of all, let me just check and see if we have any questions or comments. Okay, I'm not seeing anything. If you have a comment, I will say, if you're catching this on the replay, be sure to use hashtag replay, but also tag me in the comment if you have a question, so I'll get a notification and make sure that I answer. The next thing I want to move forward into is I want to talk about faith and your career alignment. Before you accept a position, the most important thing that you can do is pray about accepting any role. And it's so tempting, and I'm right there with you if you do this. When an important decision comes up, I want to run and ask my husband about it. I want to run and ask my best friend about it. I want to run and talk to someone who's been in that situation before. You need to talk to God about it first. God may prompt you to go over and talk to that person. He may prompt you to talk to someone that you hadn't thought about before either. But pray on accepting the role, whether it's a lesser role or it's a promoted role. Trust that feeling that you may get in your gut. trust that feeling that maybe you get it in your heart or your head. Do you know that you know that you know? For me, it's always in my gut. I can tell in how I feel, but we're all different. Trust those feelings. That's God's way of sending signals to you. And when it comes to accepting that lesser role, I have a scripture for you. Zechariah 4:10, do not despise the small beginnings. He may have you working, cleaning ball pits because he is planning a management role for you that you could not have foreseen had you not accepted the role cleaning the ball pits or working the customer service desk at Walmart. I think about my husband when he actually did work for Walmart. And when he started out as one of those guys that rounds up shopping carts on the parking lot and stocks shelves and basically anything else that needs to be done. And someone took notice of him and said, hey, you want to be in our management training program? We think you'd be a great fit. And he's in college, and at the time he's like, well, I really don't know what I want to do when I graduate. I do know that I'm in school to be in a management role. This sounds like a great thing. Don't despise the small beginnings. Rounding up shopping carts may be your means to an end that God has for you. So I want to know from y'all, have you ever taken a role that felt like a step back? And if so, did it lead to something unexpected or better than you planned? If so, drop me a yes in the chat or share your story in the comments. I would love to know about that. And just as we wrap up, y'all, a step back does not mean that you have lost your way. You have not failed. Don't get all down in the dumps if you have to take a position to put food on the table. I celebrate you if you are taking a role that this is how you provide for your family. It's really hard when you're the breadwinner. You have to provide, and your family can't afford for you to be down and depressed. Or even if you're just the contributor and you're used to that extra stream of income, your family can't afford for you to lose your way. So cling to God during this time. And remember, it could be positioning, preparation, and something we didn't talk about. It could be for your protection. I've heard of someone who took a lesser role and ended up leaving a company where they thought they were going on to, only to find out that that company filed bankruptcy several months later. God protected them from losing their job, for being unemployed, for being left without any type of severance. So it could be your protection, or it could be protection from people you don't need to be around. You just never know. And sometimes it's not up to you to ever know why. Just trust God through this process. Trust his guidance over what the world expects of you. If you seek him and you seek his wisdom, his ways, that's the most important thing. That's more important than what the world expects of you. And he is going to reward that. He tells us that in the book of Matthew. Seek me first, and all these things will be added to you. So if you're in a time of uncertainty, I want to offer you an opportunity to download my Career Clarity journal prompts. And you could download those. These are scrolling across the screen right there. Feel free to take them and use them. And it's going to help you just kind of know what your next steps are and to help you get grounded and trust the process. And I'm going to jump over. I think we had some comments. Oh, there's Chris. Hey, Chris. Yes, I did take a job with less responsibility, lived a much, in all caps, much better life than during that last season. Even completed my master's degree during that time. It was a win. Amen, Chris. Yes, I celebrate you. That is huge. And again, you just never know. You never know. And I'm going to add this. If you have an opportunity, maybe you have an opportunity to go work for a university or something like that, that gives you a chance to complete your master's degree without paying for it, that's an extra $20,000 or maybe even way more than that. You can factor onto your salary as well. So, and I don't know what role Chris took. It may just been that he just had the free time to go and take that, and it's like we talked about earlier as well, when you may have an opportunity to enroll in some online courses just to level up your skills. Those are also those great opportunities. So don't discount those small beginnings that we talked about. I also want to share with you, if you want to do a complimentary consultation with me, let me add that link there. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go back and leave the career clarity journal prompts. Okay. I'm going to throw those in the chat. That's what I'm going to do. Bear with me. It's so funny, y'all, not doing these on a weekly basis anymore. Sometimes I feel a little bit discombobulated when I get on here. So going to put that in the chat for you. And there is the link that you can now go to schedule a complimentary consultation with me. And let me see if I can grab the link to download the career clarity prompts. Okay. Well, Beverly, I don't think I have it on here. I'm sorry about that. I will just leave that scrolling across the bottom, or you can always reach out to me. There we go. I'm going to be better prepared next time. Don't despise the small beginnings, right? Okay. Guys, I hope this has been helpful for you. And if it has been, or someone that could benefit from this session, please share this. You can always go watch it, like I said, on my YouTube page at Beverly Smith Resumes. If you're following me on LinkedIn, all of my live streams are under, if you go to my profile, are under the events, and you can go and binge watch them there or just share this one. I would be forever grateful if you would share them on social media. That will be huge and a much very helpful in helping me get the word out to help other people that might need to know, hey, it's okay. It's okay. We celebrate you. There's nothing to be disappointed or ashamed of if you take a lesser position. God loves you no matter what. I love you, and I celebrate you, and I bless you. And I wish you the rest of your week to be very happy. And I will see you in about a couple of weeks. And until then, y'all have a great day. Bye now.